Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. It's what a great setting as always. Congratulations to Marine Money, and it's great to see how much we have to be proud of. Boy, the amount of money in the business today, that's kind of eye-opening. That's amazing. We're doing a great job returning capital to investors. The other thing that I think we've seen this morning is the quality of the leadership that we're seeing in our industry today. The people who are making decisions, just this past panel, the morning's discussion, illustrate the drive that the industry brings, the power that we bring, the looking forward to making tough decisions. So I'm excited. I share Carrie's excitement about our business. I've been doing it for quite a while, and it's fun. It still is fun. But we have to acknowledge that we have fallen short in some significant and specific ways. And I just want to highlight what we heard from the Sea Cargo Charter just a few weeks ago. The Sea Cargo Charter announced to us that the shipping industry has fallen short by almost 20% from the IMO's decarbonization goals. And that translates into 165 million more tons of CO2 than we can be emitting. So there's a call to action here. The call to action is to harness the money, harness the people, get back on track so we can deliver what our industry is so proud of, the safe, environmentally friendly transportation of vital commodities. The green screen service that Marsoft has developed is, we think, one way of taking advantage of new opportunities that are now available in industry that didn't exist in the past. And it focuses specifically on what we think of as the low-hanging fruit in our business, retrofitting. Retrofitting. Now, we've heard from just this panel here that the leaders in the industry are already taking advantage of what the technology can offer us. But we also heard that 82% of the potential fleet is failing to take advantage of that. So there are barriers, there are obstacles, and that's what Green Screen is designed to address. Now, there are three pillars of the Green Screen solution. The first is markets. Markets looking to value the reduced emissions that the industry can provide. The voluntary carbon credit markets will pay you to take credit for the carbon that you're reducing. Companies like Microsoft have made pledges to their shareholders to reduce their CO2 emissions. They cannot install nuclear reactors fast enough to power their AI data centers, and so they look to industries like shipping that can move more quickly at lower cost. The second pillar of Green Screen is innovation. And boy, what a great story we heard just a moment ago about GIT. A new technology, tweaking of some chemicals that I don't understand at all. But the bottom line is something new, something powerful that we're already seeing the leaders begin to adopt. The final pillar of Green Screen is science. And we heard earlier that the industry must be transparent. I'd argue that the industry is very, very transparent already. And what we can do is take advantage of that transparency, do even better, take it a step forward, simplify, make more powerful the tools that are available to us to make better decisions. And that's one of the things we did when we went back to MIT, went back to school, tried to figure out how we could help that retrofitting decision be even better. Now let me talk a little bit about the beginning of retrofitting and the beginning of what inspired Marsoft. It was AkzoNobel who, with their new technology, their new coatings, which both had zero biocides and ultra-low friction, they looked to take advantage of the voluntary carbon markets to help inspire greater utilization of those biocide-free coatings. And they did a great job. But you know, it's tough to be a pioneer in shipping. As a matter of fact, you probably don't want to be a pioneer, or you want to be very, very careful about it. What this chart here shows is the success story behind AkzoNobel, and it also illustrates the challenges. This is a fleet of 16 bulkers. They announced, if you take a look back, some of our clients participated in that original project. The upfront cost, we don't really know. If it was less than $250,000, I'd be shocked. I think it's probably much more than that. It took them 3 years to get the first credits out the door. They issued 126,000 tons of credits. That's tons of carbon credits. That's a great job. And they sold them at what at the time was a good price. And they returned almost $600,000 to their investors. You know, I look at that great job and I say, it's not a compelling case. It cost too much, it took too long, it didn't make enough money. Those are the problems that we set out to solve with the green screen program. Now, this example shows here, and on the right, that's green screen. And you can tell it's green. This is the same number of ships, the same number of carbon credits. So we're holding everything else constant, but we're changing the mechanism by which the benefits of the CO2 emissions reduction were monetized and recognized. And there are 3 key things I want you to see in this chart. First, the upfront cost is 0. Second, time to get your ships enrolled, time to get your first carbon, 6 to 12 months. Pricing, $9, twice what we saw in the market 5 years ago. The value to you today, to a ship owner putting their 16 ships into this program, going through this program, $1.1 million. In my mind, that's a more compelling financial argument for retrofitting and taking advantage of green screen. And I want to return to the first point I highlighted, the 0 initial cost. How can we do that? Well, I can tell you how we can do it. Marsoft is making its bet. We bet that the carbon is going to be worth something, worth a lot, as a matter of fact. That reduction in CO2 emissions will be recognized, we are going to be able to sell it, and we're bringing that to the table to encourage the industry to move more quickly. Now, you're not going to get $1.1 million by business as usual. You're going to have to change something. And the good news is that we heard really exactly what it is from the panel today. And I'm going to now turn around the green screen calculation and compare 2 different projects. Key thing about these projects that I want you to see right up front is that they're financially identical. You go to your shareholders and they offer a 13% return. Admittedly, that's not as much as you got by flipping your ship last month, but still 13% probably keeps you in business for a while. Second, you got a 3-year payback. And once you see a 3-year payback, the question is not should we do something, but why the heck aren't we doing something? But now let me highlight the difference, the green screen difference. In the first case, and this is a case study built around a Supra bulker, I think it's 10 years old, and we account for things like probability of sale, the fact that charterers don't pay for the fuel savings, things like that. In the first case, you spent about $350,000, and you didn't reduce your CO2, and that's your baseline. That's just what everybody does. That's what 82% of the industry does. In the second case, you spent $100,000 more in a financially identical transaction. You made the same amount of money. But with that extra $100,000, you transformed the investment decision into one in which you reduced your CO2 emissions and you got paid for it. And you looked to the voluntary carbon markets to help reward you for that. Let's talk a little bit about what you do. Well, here's on the list is on the left. These are the things. This is the checklist. The guardians of the voluntary carbon markets have declared. These are the things you can do and be eligible for carbon credits. And by the way, they are reviewing this constantly, and I suspect the PBCFs might not be on there for too much longer. So if that's what you're doing, please move quickly. Take advantage of the current acceptance. I'm tremendously excited to announce today that we're beginning our wind assist projects. And TST here is introducing some really exciting new technology on the Supra, and Oman Shipping is doing the same thing on a VLOC. And we're taking those projects forward to the gold standard over the course of this year to get them enrolled and start getting paid a little bit extra from the carbon markets for the benefits of what they're doing. Now, I tell you, you could help me in that. because I like to take a project of scale to the gold standard. That's when gold standard is like the Standard & Poor's of carbon. They only pay attention when you bring a lot to the table. I need a few more projects, and I think I heard today several more wind assist projects. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear about how I can help, Marsoft can help you make a little bit more money on those projects, take away some of the risk. So these are the things you can do. These are the things your colleagues in the industry have already done. The green screen program has been around for a while. I think some of you may have heard me give this presentation in the past. We've got 165 ships enrolled now. We're saving 1.1 million tons of carbon. That's how many in our industry can point to the number of tons of carbon that they have reduced. I think it's hard. I think it's hard because CII fails, EEXI fails. There's no single number like how much carbon you've saved. And to convert that to a very relevant figure, because I know 1.1 million tons of carbon seems rather abstract, that amounts to 250,000 cars on the road for a year. And I drove here from the airport yesterday. I would gladly take 250,000 cars off the road here in New York, because I could have gotten here on time, Jim, for the program yesterday. So this is working now, and it's achieved the endorsement of leading owners. We know, we talked about Starbulk, GSL, Prime, Diana, Great Eastern, Leonhardt and Bloomberg, most recently. TST joining us to start their exciting new wind assist project. And these aren't people who act rashly. These are the wise decision makers of our industry who have discovered that with green screen, they can make a little bit more money, they can take a little risk out of their project, and they can get recognition that the industry does not now provide. Now, unsurprisingly, at the end of this presentation, I'm going to ask you to enroll your ships, just in case. So when you enroll your ships, we're going to take about 4 weeks to run them through the gold standard required process to list the ships in a gold standard project. We won't charge you anything for that, and if you come to us before you've made your retrofit decision, we might have a conversation about what are the ways you can do even better, do even more. How can you, that extra 100,000, how might it be spent? So that's the first month of the project. Every year for the next 5 years, you get a check, you get your carbon credits, you get a report saying how many carbon credits, and we work with our partners at Climeco to sell them on your behalf. They don't have your ship's name on them. They are kind of what we consider blue ocean credits. It's a pool. It's one way we're able to get to that premium pricing that we referred to earlier. So, start the journey now. It's only going to take a name of a ship, an IMO number, and a little more details from what's in your EEXI files. We're going to work with you. We're going to take the challenge on of working with the gold standard, which is a god-awful challenge, I have to say, and make it work for you and deliver the carbon credits and deliver the value. So here it is. This is the ask. Please join me in green screen. And there's a very, very specific problem I face. I need to move from 165 ships to 300 by the end of July. Yeah, that sounds like a challenge. The good news, I'm at Marine Money, New York City. This is where it happens. Jim Lawrence has told me, he has promised me 135 ships on his own account. So you're going to get an email from Jim and I, and we're going to say, this is your chance to demonstrate the value of Marine Money and the opportunity to reduce your CO2 emissions at the same time. So I look forward to talking with you about that email you're going to get. Look forward to talking about how we're going to reduce our CO2 emissions together. And thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Arlie, thank you very much. There are some seats in the front. I see a lot of people standing in the back if you want to make your way forward. It's a pleasure now to conclude the morning with a very special interview. And I want to welcome Vangelis Marinakis and Michael Tusiani to the stage. It's really just a super pleasure to have these guys with us, and really looking forward to this conversation. I don't think Vangelis needs any introduction in this room or in this industry, but I would encourage you to look at the bio in the brochure, because I think it'll highlight a lot of things that he's doing that you might not know about. The scope of his activities is really remarkable. When I first met Vangelis, I think it was 2004, he had a relatively small fleet of ships. And in the meantime, what he has built and accomplished in the